All right, so in this video, we're going to be going over sample question 17 in the Society of Actuaries ExamP list of sample questions. All right, so the question reads, an insurance company pays hospital claims. The number of claims that include emergency room or operating room charges is 85% of the total number of claims. The number of claims that do not include emergency room charges is 25% of the total number of claims. The occurrence of emergency room charges is independent of the occurrence of operating room charges on hospital claims. We need to calculate the probability that the claim submitted to the insurance company includes operating room charges. Okay, so let's write, this is just a fairly simple, general probability type problem. Let's list out what the question gives us, right? And whenever it gives us a paragraph of stuff, we just want to extract the important pieces of information. So let's see, insurance pays claims, the number of claims. Okay, first piece, number of claims that include emergency room visits or operating room charges is 85%. So probability of emergency room or operating room costs, that is 0.85, right? This looks like it's going to be a standard question involving union and that formula. Next piece, number of claims that do not include emergency room charges is 25%. So the probability that something does not include emergency room charges, that's equal to 0.25. And before I even go on, I'm just going to write the probability of having emergency room charges. That should be 0.75. Why? And this should be something you're pretty familiar with. In event A and the complement of that event should be equal to the entire sample space, which is 1, right? So here I'm saying you either don't have emergency room charges or you do, and that should be everyone. You either have it or you don't. So you should be familiar with the following. 1 is equal to the probability of event A plus the probability of the complement of event A, and that's what got me this 0.75. Next, the number of claims that do not include emergency room visits, 0.25. The occurrence of emergency room charges is independent of the occurrence of operating room charges on hospital claims. Now that's super important. When two events are independent, I know that this is a particular formula or a particular equivalence that'll occur. Probability of emergency room and operating room charges. Well, that's equal to, what was this? Probability of emergency room times probability of operating room charges. So when two events are independent, the intersection of those events is equal to the product of the individual probabilities of that event happening. Last piece, calculate the probability that a claim submitted includes operating room charges. We are looking for the following: the probability of operating room charges. All right, so let's see if we can set something up. I see a union here, and that kind of immediately wants me to write down that formula where the probability of the union of two events, E union O, is equal to the probability of E plus the probability of O subtracted by the probability of E intersection O. And now I can start plugging in values that I have. I know this is 0.85. And honestly, at this point, the probability part's done. Algebra. So 0.85 is equal to 0.75 there, plus probability of operating room charges, which is what we're looking for, right? It would be weird if we already had that. No need to do the actual question, minus. Now, I don't have any information in terms of the actual value of that intersection, but I know it can break it up into individual pieces. So that'd be the probability of emergency room charges, which in this case is 0.75. So 0.75 times the probability of operating room charges. Okay, now hopefully this should seem pretty easy to do. I'm going to subtract the 0.75 over to the other side, and that should equal 0.1. And I'm not going to do everything step by step, but probability of O minus 0.75 probability of O. That should be 0.25 times the probability of O, operating room charges. And then I could divide 0.25 to both sides. So 0.1 divided by 0.25 is 0.4. So 0.4 is equal to the probability of operating room charges. Easy as that. That is our final answer. Corresponds with answer choice D. All right, so these questions aren't really that difficult at all. Any of the general probability stuff. Don't get me wrong, they will get much harder, but a lot of these illustrate that if you have a solid grasp of, fundamental knowledge, for example, I know I can do this. I know, an event and its complement should add up to 1, right? That gets me this. I understand that when I'm told I have independent events, that their intersection is equal to the product of their individual probabilities, right? And that's all you needed, along with, obviously, this very basic formula, day 1 of any probability class, probability and statistics class. Okay, so if there are any other questions or anything you want me to clarify about this question, throw a question down in the comments. If you want to see more examples of ExamP type problems, I have a playlist, so you can go through that. And if this video helped you out, think about giving it a like, because that definitely helps me out. Other than that, good luck, guys.